Hello and welcome to Cheap Graphic Novels. My name is Taylor of Taylor Talks Comics, and I've got another unboxing video for you. So let's hop to it. I've got my latest shipment in from CGN. Because yes, I do social media for CGN, but I'm a customer just like you guys. I also order books from there, obviously. And Max just shipped out my latest additions to my collection. As I'm opening this, I would like to let you know, if you're coming across this video, you haven't been on the CGN YouTube channel yet, I ask you that please give a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss a video, and let you know that we go live every week. We do a weekly show. Make sure my address wasn't on there. We do a weekly show where we go over the books that are going to come out the following week. We usually do it on Thursdays, but follow us on social media at CheapGN on Twitter and Instagram to make sure that you don't miss an episode, because I always put on there when the episodes will be. I'm actually filming this right before the CGN Live. But we go over all the books that come out next week, or the next week, and we also talk about sales, the website. We have a big chat. It's an interactive. It's a live show. It's a lot of fun. We've been growing our audience a little bit too, so if you could share this video and share with people where you like to get your comic books from, cheapgraphicnovels.com, that'd be great too. So, if you've never shopped with CGN before, I can assure you, your books will come in safe. They're packed to the gills with packing paper. This is one of the things I love about CGN, so let's see what I got. This is, I will forewarn you, a very Marvel heavy. I think it's all Marvel, actually. So my last unboxing video that I did on the channel, which you can still see, was all Marvel books too. I don't only read Marvel. You can see in the background here. These are my actual books. But it's just been, Marvel's just been putting out a lot of books lately that I need to add to my collection. So, like, look at how much paper there is. It's great. And guess what? My cats love it. There's one right now playing with it. But it just so happens that Marvel's been putting out a lot of books lately that I need to add to my collection. So, they've been dominating my comic book purchases lately. Yeah, you can see it's like padded down all the way to the bottom. So your books will come in nice and safe, I promise that. Or we promise that, rather. I think it looks like I've got 5 books to show off for you guys. So, up first we have AntMan. AntMan Giant Man Epic Collection, Volume 2. I think I talked about this on my last CGN unboxing, but I love the Epic Collections. They look so nice on the shelf. I'm going to do a video, I think, separately, just talking about the Epic Collections, because I think it's such a genius way to, for Marvel to collect entire runs of characters and their history and stuff like that. So, and my favorite eras of Marvel are like 60s through 70s. The Silver through the Bronze Age are my favorite, and this falls right in line with that. And this is Volume 2. Volume 1 came out a long time ago, to the point where we weren't sure whether or not we would be ever getting another volume. But this is what they look like together. This is AntMan Giant Man on it, on the spines. And then the volume numbers are on the back. So the Epic Collections, they do print them out of order typically. This is a rare case because this is volumes 1 and 2. But the a lot of times they'll print them out of order. So, and there's a few reasons for that. One reason is that they want to print stuff that's never been printed before. So, like, if like, you know, like Frank Miller's Daredevil's been printed a number of different ways. Walt Simonson's Thor's been printed a number of different ways. So they're wanting to hit like the runs that have never been printed before. So, like, for instance, one thing I'm looking forward to them printing is FantasticFour in between the Kirby Lee run and in between John Byrne. Like, that stuff has been printed in, like, I think, like, John George Perez classics, I think, have had some of those, but the entire run of the section has never been printed before, and they're finally getting to that point. And then also Afterburn was a section of Fantastic Four that's never really been collected, at least not in recent times. So that's where a lot of the earlier Fantastic Four epic collections came. Another reason is they might just hit big stories. So like, well, I have one here actually. Let's look at my next book. Executioner Song for X-Men. So this is obviously an iconic 1990s X-Men story that you might be familiar with. So they hit a big story. So if you're maybe a lapsed comic book fan, or you're just a comic book fan in a comic book shop, and you see they have a whole collection of the entire Executioner Song in this thick trade paperback, then you might be prone to buy it. And it's not going to look weird on your shelf because, again, the volume number, which is 21 in this case, is not on the spine. So you're not going to have this weird trade paperback on your shelf that has a 21 on it. So you can just collect them out of order. You can collect just the big stories that you want, or you can try to collect the entire run. So Marvel does print them out of order at times, which is great for a number of reasons for that. Like, you can just collect just the big stories if you want. You can collect just certain eras if you want, if you're only a fan of like the George Perez Fantastic Four or what have you. Or you just want all the iconic Marvel stories, and they still are going to look great on your shelf. If you can see a little bit here off camera. I'm not pointing there. There we go. They're still going to look great on your shelf. And they are fluid in the way that a lot of people collect different stories. So I love them for that reason. And then I'm only collecting certain characters' lines. So like Ant-Man's one of them, Daredevil, Defenders, Fantastic Four, any mutant-related stuff. So I have Excalibur, X-Force, New Mutants, all that stuff too, in Epic collections. But I'm not collecting everything. I don't have Avengers, Captain America, Hulk. Like, those are ones that I haven't dabbled in yet. Who knows? Maybe I will. But this is Ant-Man, Giant Man. This collects a number of different eras. They even show you on the volume number what years it collects. And typically it's about 1 to 2 years, unless it's a character like this that had kind of sporadic appearances. And this collects 1964 all the way to 1979. So it collects the remaining Tales to Astonish issues that were not in the first volume, 60 through 69, and all the way to Black Goliath 1 through 5, which is a mini-series, which is cool because that Black Goliath series is probably never going to be collected in anything. Like, maybe a small trade paperback, maybe. But otherwise, it's probably going to be orphaned from any sort of collections. Unless one day they do decide to do a Ant-Man, Giant Man Omnibus that collects both of these epic collections. That could very well be the case. But this is a great collection of Ant-Man, who's a character that I like a lot. It has writing by Stan Lee, Mike Friedrich, Chris Claremont, Bill Mantlo, and then artwork by Herb Trimpe, Pete Craig Russell, George Tuska, and John Byrne are all featured in here, amongst others. But really happy to have this collection. Ant-Man's an eccentric character that I've always wanted to read more of, and I've never read that era of him, so that's exciting. And then back to this one. This is a huge one. X-Men currently has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 epic collections plus a few more, 14. They have 14 epic collections, and I have 10 of them because I have the Silver Age. Oh, they're off camera here. The Silver Age omnibuses, so I don't have those in epic collections. Typically, as a collector, I collect everything I can for the Silver Age. I collect those in omnibus format. And otherwise, I've been going with epic collections. Unless it's a character that has ever been in an epic collection, or a character I want to read more of, or a creator I like, what have you. A lot of them are different decisions I make in that regard. But this is the Executioner Song, which is a fun story. Especially if you're into like 90s era X-Men. It's a great long shot image there. But this has Scott Lobdell, Fabian Nicieza are the two writers primarily on this story, because this is like right after, or right as, and then after the Image Exodus, when Will Spatasio, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, those guys all left and created Image. This is like right in line with what's happening there. Here's a good double page splash. So if you're into 90s era X-Men, yes, it's like the extreme artwork. like you can imagine. Who's the artist on this one? Oh, this is Jim Lee. Cool panel layouts. It's obviously a Jim Lee cover too. I'm familiar with his work. You get some good Bishop in here. Bishop's always a great character. So this is a story that I really love, and I feel like as a crossover, it really reads well as a collected edition. I don't know, I wasn't reading this. Strife plays a big factor in this story. Rob Liefeld creation. I don't know, I didn't collect this as it was coming out. Cable, my man. Look at that guy. It's total beauty. I'm a total Cable apologist. Listen, I love my literary comics work of Fantagraphics and all the snobby, pretentious comics that you can get with that kind of stuff, but sometimes you just want to read some Saturday morning explosion extreme kind of comics, and that's where the Rob Liefeld XMen kind of collection goes in for me. Like just kind of mindless fun with some cool artwork is where I get my kicks, I guess, with that kind of stuff. But yeah, so Epic Collection. This one's like, oh man, it's over 500 pages. And let me know in the comments. I can check to see if any of these are still in print. I should have checked before I started filming, but I did not. Then we have The Silver Surfer, The Return of Thanos. And this is volume 5, which Silver Surfer, we got quite a lot of Silver Surfer printed. Like, this is my Silver Surfer collection so far. And as far as the volume numbers go, I don't have volume 1 of the Epic Collections because that's a lot of Fantastic Four appearances. It's a good introductory to Silver Surfer if you're wanting just Silver Surfer comics. If you're not collecting Fantastic Four in another format, or if you just want the context of reading just Silver Surfer stuff without all the Fantastic Four issues in between. So that's volume 1. I don't have that because I have all the Fantastic Four issues already. And then volume 2 has not been announced or solicited or anything like that, but volume 2 will be the entire contents of, I can't reach it right now, of the Silver Surfer by Stan Lee and John Buscema. That run that I think is 18 issues plus an annual and a few others. That entire omnibus basically will be what makes up Silver Surfer volume 2 in the Epic Collection. Like I said, not been announced, not been solicited or anything like that. And then we have volume 3, which is Freedom, and this starts the Steve Englehart run. And then we have volume 4, which is Parable, and this includes the Mobius story that Stan Lee and Mobius did. And this is volume 5, so this new edition is going to fill that gap, because then we have volume 6, which is Thanos Quest, and volume 7, which is the Infinity Gauntlet. So this is a great gap filler, and a reason why, like I said, they get released out of order, but filling that gap in between all those, it's such a satisfying feeling. So let me throw these back up here real fast, and then I'll show off some interiors of my new, Silver Surfer collection. Those are all going to come out anyways, because I got to shuffle things around so that I can fit this in there. But yeah, this is the Return of Thanos. This is in the conclusion of the Steve Englehart run. And then in the beginning of Jim Starland's run on the character as a writer, which then leads into the Infinity Gauntlet. And is this... Okay, so Thanos Quest... Did I say that's the one after this? Yeah, Thanos Quest is actually the Epic Collection that got me to buy all the Silver Surfer Epic Collections. I was... Really, like, I've read the Fantastic Four issues. Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel comic. And then I read the John Buscema Stan Lee run, and those were, like, both satisfying enough that I was like, okay, I don't know if I need to read any more Silver Surfer. I think that's pretty much, I got my fix, I guess. But then I got the Silver Surfer Thanos Quest. I got it for cheap, I think, at some point. I don't know where I got it from, but it was on sale, like, super cheap. So I bought it, and I read it, and I absolutely loved it. That was the first time I ever read Thanos Quest. Which I think personally holds up better than Infinity Gauntlet, the 6-issue series. Just like that 2-issue Thanos Quest run. But the build-up of it with Jim Starlin is fantastic. This is Jim Starlin coming off of his run with Batman in DC. and he has a lot of things to say about his time with DC. He has a lot of disgruntled thoughts. Didn't have like the best experience at times, and he pours that kind of angst into the Silver Surfer character. So there's a lot of maybe some knocks on DC at times, and some insight, like knowing that context. If you read the Jim Starland, this is the Steve Englehart part. If you read the Jim Starland run, knowing that, you'll pick up on some certain things, like, oh, he's referring to DC. Look at this great spot. I think this is Ron Lim with Mephisto and Silver Surfer. Mephisto is obviously a longtime foe of the Surfer. That's got to be Ron Lim, right? Let me see. Where's the credits? Yeah, but Ron Lim does a lot of the artwork on the... Oh, Ron Friends. I'm sorry. Ron Friends. And that's actually Jim Valentino on the script. Great splash there. But Ron Lim does a lot of the artwork in the Starland run. Even, like, this is a great example of the wackiness. Like, approved by the Cosmic Code Authority. Just, like, some fun things where Starland was kind of going off the rails. But it tells a cohesive story. And then at the end, there's Stan Lee, Keith Pollard graphic novel, where Stan Lee goes back to the Surfer to write another story. It has great Keith Pollard artwork. Stan Lee, obviously, if you don't know, his favorite character to ever write was the Surfer. So anytime he had a chance to write Silver Surfer comics, he was into it. Then I have Deadpool, Mission Improbable, which Deadpool only has one other issue, or one other epic collection that's come out, which is called Circle Chase. Known around the epic collections as a weird one that doesn't have the title on the front. They all do, like, that's just Deadpool, even if it wasn't on the cover originally. So far for Deadpool, we only have 2 epic collections. So these are basically collecting, if you had the old Deadpool Classic trade paperbacks, these are basically just compiling those together into thicker trades. And this one collects Wolverine, a couple issues of X-Force, and then collects Deadpool's first ongoing series, 1 through 9 and -1, and then a couple other annuals. This is a lot of Fabian Nicieza work, and then I think Ed McGuinness artwork with Adam Polina in there. Adam Polina is a artist that I really enjoy. Here's some Ed McGuinness. It's also Ed McGuinness cover, which Ed McGuinness is like the guy that started drawing Deadpool as like this hulking figure, all muscly and 90s action era looking. Liefeld and others had him looking more slimmed down, more Spider-Man like. Which, I mean, that doesn't bother me. Oh, this is also where you get a lot of the goofier side of Deadpool really start to come to fruition. Those early issues of X-Force where Deadpool appeared and the early Rob Liefeld stuff before he left, there's still some comedy in the era. It's kind of a misconception that the funny Deadpool came after Liefeld. There's still some comedy in there. Regardless, you get Typhoon Mary, Anderson TJRJR creation. But yeah, just fun 90s action. What I was going to say though is when people start exaggerating the figure on certain characters and like Deadpool looks a lot hulkier than he did in those early issues, I think it's just like cartooning 101. Like that's just like the interpretation of the thing. Like these aren't supposed to be taken like as literal figures. I don't think. At least that's not my interpretation when I read comics. My last epic collection I got in this haul, I guess, is FantasticFour Volume 19. The Dream is Dead. This is a volume I've been waiting for dearly because let me get them out here. 21, 22, 23, and then okay. So like I said, FantasticFour is my favorite comic book that I've ever read. Particularly the Lee Kirby run, the 102 issue iconic run that they had, but also the John Byrne run. I just read that for the first time a few years ago when I got into the Omnibus game. I got the 2-volume Omnibus set, and I loved it. So I just wanted more. Loving the Lee Kirby run, loving the John Byrne run. Fell in love with these characters as a whole, and I wanted more. So, and that's actually what started my Epic collection buying. I was like, okay, I could have the entirety of the first, was it 416 issues? Yeah, 416 issues is how long the first Fantastic Four volume, I guess, lasts beyond. And then after that, they go to Heroes Reborn and all that nonsense. So it's like, that was my goal. I'm going to have all 416 of the first issues of Fantastic Four on my shelf in some format. So between omnibuses and Epic collections, that's going to be able to fulfill that. Hasn't happened yet because they haven't collected everything. But that's what started my Epic collections, because they are so complete. They collect, they don't miss any issues. Like, they collect everything. Sometimes, like, the John Byrne Omnibus is a good example, actually. Because that doesn't collect any of the issues that John Byrne didn't work on. So there's some orphan issues in there. The Epic collections don't skip anything. So, I was so excited to get this when I was doing that reading through, because this is volume 17 of the Epics. And this takes place directly after John Byrne leaves. So if you're reading the John Byrne omnibuses and you want to keep going, this one follows that up directly. And this is volume 17. Then I went to volume 18. And this is The More Things Change. This is the Englehart run. Yeah, this is the beginning of it. No, Englehart starts on this one. Englehart had a pretty good run on Fantastic Four. But this is the era where the Thing takes over as a leader, Reed and Sue leave for a little bit, and they fill in some newer members on Fantastic Four. So I had volume 17 and 18 following up the Byrne run. I was so excited. But then, because they're released out of order, my books are all trying to fall down because I don't have them all tight up there. They never released volume 19 until now. But I had volume 20, I had volume 21, I had volume 22, and volume 23. So I was like, there's a huge gap of stories. Let me see. Let me get these all in order now. So after John Byrne, I had this huge chunk of Fantastic Four stories, but one volume was missing, and that was volume 19. And then they have released volume 25, but not 24 yet. So that's the next gap. But now we have it. Oh, geez. Let's move the camera. Now we have that gap completed. Volume 19. So after John Byrne, we have a huge collection of Fantastic Four. So if you're looking to read more Fantastic Four after the John Byrne omnibuses, you will have this entire section of Epic collections you can read without missing a single issue. There's no single issues missing. So that's awesome. But this is the conclusion of the Steve Englehart run, which didn't finish in the best way. He kind of finished a little disgruntled. He even credits himself in his last issue as John Harkness, because he was really upset with the way... I found it right there. Actually, I flipped right to it. I don't know if you can see that. This is John Harkness right there. He was upset with the way that it was concluding, and he wasn't stoked about the things that they did for his stories. But then he left. And then, I don't know who takes over after him. I think Roger Stern, maybe? Let me see here. I can't flip to the page. It's not opening. There we go. Roy Thomas, Roger Stern, Mark Grunwald, Gregory Wright, Pete Sanderson. So a lot of people kind of fill in after that to pad out the rest of this volume. And then after this is when I think it's Walt Simonson takes over. Yes. Walt Simonson's iconic Fantastic Four run takes over right after this. So it's so stoked to have this. Like I said, right now, with all this huge stack of Fantastic Four, we're only missing volume 24. The John Byrne run has not been collected in omnibus format yet. So I think they're holding off on that because that's been collected in a number of different ways. So they're not super keen to run to it. They'll probably be the last Fantastic Four run collected in Epic Collections. And the last thing I have is an omnibus. Nova. Richard Rider. So I'm trying to take the plastic off of this. So this is a character that I've never been able to read his run on. This has not been collected in Epics. It was collected in Nova Classic trade paperbacks. I don't know if it collected the entirety of this run, though. But this run, If you're like a New Warriors fan, everything here is kind of like all of Nova's adventures before New Warriors. So if you're a big New Warriors fan, you want to read like where did the Nova character come from, this is the place to go. But it has the iconic Marvel method of having all the covers on the back of these earlier. They do this for like Silver and Bronze Age omnibuses, and I love it. It shows all the covers you get. Because this does collect Nova 1 through 25, an issue of Spider-Man, 3 issues of Defenders, a couple Marvel 2-in-1s, and then the Fantastic Four 204 through 214 with an annual there, which doesn't... I don't think that's been collected in Epics, actually. Let me see. Because this... No, because that predates John Byrne. Yeah. They're all out of order. Yeah. That predates... Oh, jeez. That predates John Byrne. So those Fantastic Four issues have not been collected. Definitely not in oversized format. But this is what the... I'll try to do this carefully. Stretch the spine a little bit. Alright. It has a wraparound cover. Great looking cover. I love when they do that. You get that huge piece of artwork. But this is Richard Rider Nova. That's a good image of him. And that last, so it's like 204 through 206, and then 208 through 214 of Fantastic Four. 209, I guess, didn't feature Nova. But that 10-issue run kind of concludes his story, but it doesn't... Here's a great two. Look at that. Space, opera, war, spaceships, lasers, all kinds of action in that double-page splash. I guess his story kind of concludes in the ROM, though, which ROM is a Hasbro license property, and Marvel doesn't have the rights to reprint that. You do get a great table of contents, though, with that same image of Richard Rider. So I'm gonna have to click those single issues because I don't think Marvel... I don't know if they'll ever get the rights to ROM, but the reason why I wanted to click this, I love Marvel Cosmic Stories, and they've been doing a great job this year. They have like the Adam Warlock Omnibus just came out, Captain Marvel, like the original Captain Marvel run just came out in an omnibus, and then this, and then they also have like the War of Kings omnibus came out, a couple modern Captain Marvels. So I love Cosmic Marvel adventures, but this, like I said, I haven't read this before, but it's supposed to read like a lot like a Peter Parker kind of story. So I think that's kind of how it was pitched originally when the story came about. Marv Wolfman and John Romita Jr. I think was designed the character, but it was John Buscema. Correct me if I'm wrong in that in the comments, but John Buscema and Marv Wolfman did the first couple issues, which that's the first issue cover, opening splash. But it reads a lot like Peter Parker. It's a kid down on his luck in high school that has a lot of issues, like teenage type issues, but then he gets these powers that send him out into space. So it's like Peter Parker in space, kind of, the way it reads, with the same kind of themes, like teenage angst, teenage issues that seem bigger than they are, but then having to deal with issues that are bigger than they are because they're on a cosmic scale. Great Thor cover. So yeah, so I'm super excited to read this. I think this is going to go in my to-read pile immediately after this video. But yeah, so that was my haul. Lots of Marvel. Let me know what you guys picked up recently in the comments. And if you want to tag us with CGN Haul on Twitter and Instagram, I'm going to start sharing those too, because I want to see what people pick up and share those around the interwebs. But yeah, don't miss out on our weekly shows. Make sure to subscribe so you get and hit the bell notification so you know when we go live. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, CheapGN, and then sign up for our weekly newsletter. Information for that can be found in other posts on our social media, or if you just go to cheapgraphicnovels.com, the best place to buy comic books, scroll down to the bottom of that front page, and there'll be a little section there that says sign up for our newsletter. So you want to sign up for our weekly newsletter that I get to write to as well. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and keep hauling comics.